Yeah, we will. And spawning in the upper right, in the red, he is from Team Uplan, Denver.
And then Juggernaut, it's our blue Terran player. Currently teamless, this is Ziggy.
And Arashi, are we going to see any... Well, you know what? Never mind. I answered my own question. Fantastic. Is this the build? Who was it? I want to say I saw this build yesterday. We saw 2 racks, but it was 2 racks in the natural, and it wasn't 2 racks Reaper, which is something that we've seen Special do this version before. It was actually 2 racks Marine. It was like this pseudo proxy. I don't think it's going to be that, right? I don't think it's going to be 2 racks Marine because, again, even if Juggernaut does have those speed zones, it will still be rather long. But also Denver, he understands how favorite he is. He went for a 15 pool, something like he went for an early pool in this game. He's going to be totally fine. Whatever the version of a 2 racks Ziggy's going for here, as we do have already might have guessed. So this is going to be 2 racks Reaper. Denver should be fine. He's going to have a quick speed.
So this is like Kelliger's thing, right? Where he'll do the 2 barracks down on the low ground, the 3rd barracks up on the high ground, and then it's just like Reapers. What, you're tired of Reapers? More Reapers, and that wins him a lot of games in previous seasons and in the current meta as well. So we'll have to see if Ziggy's going to lean into that even further, but he does have the 3 barracks down. Fun deviation is if he really wants to be obnoxious, he can throw down the engineering bay and try and grab +1, because +1 Reapers are just kind of silly at times, but I don't know if it'll go quite that far. Not surprising though to see Ziggy lean into this since he is at the statistical disadvantage. We'll have to see if he can capitalize on it at all.
Well, we're gonna have it's 3 racks Reaper now, which makes it even more fun here. It makes me think, as you were saying, that we might even see +1 Reapers on the table. You want to lean into Euthermal? I mean, this is full, not even Euthermal. This is full Uwu thermal builds happening from Ziggy in this game. Although I think he's XD Thermal, XD Thermi DX now, which is of course why he's showing better results. But yeah, so natural underway, 3 Reapers at a time here. Speed is just about done. I don't think these Reapers are going to be able to get too much here. But I mean, 3 Reapers at a time can be powerful. You've used the speed zone to find them across the map. Okay, speed has been revealed. 12 Zerglings on the way. I kind of almost wanted to see Denver go and like pool the Zerglings for the speed reveal. But that's not going to happen, not anymore. And with the Queens here, though, Zerglings, they're going to look for the surround. And we're not at that critical mass of Reapers just yet, where you just drop all the KD8 charges and all the Zerglings die immediately. But we're getting there pretty quickly.
Having speed already done, though, is a huge advantage here for Denver. He's going to be able to surround the Reapers first time around, grabs a few of them, and doesn't lose a whole lot in the exchange, and it's just going to be more Zerglings on the way as well. I think Denver has to be careful, though. He does not want to overcommit into the army count. That could work out into Ziggy's favor, especially if he can trade favorably with the Reapers, because the Reaper control is pretty decent right now. The charges are still going down. Some quick positioning here, though, from Denver. He is going to try and get around, and he gets a whole box on those. Those Reapers are going to get whittled away. Multiple of them are still very, very low as well. Denver should be able to just come across the map and, I hate to say win the game, but he's going to be able to put a lot of pressure on.
Well, here's the thing, right? He's not going to really be able to bust through that wall. That's not likely. You just get a repair. It's two barracks on the wall. That's like, what, 3,000? What, a barrack is 1,000 or 1,500 HP? Yeah, that's like 2,000 HP in part of it. And yeah, there are a couple supply depots, but realistically, the Reapers are going to fire over it. Only way you bust through is with Banelings or with Ravagers, neither of which Denver does have. So Denver, at this point, he's held. He really didn't take any worker damage. Yeah, he was forced to build a couple more Zerglings than he would have liked, as he is, that's the right button. He is sitting here on 20 Zerglings. He's lost a couple more than that. He's lost 16 more. So call it 36 Zerglings. That is 18 drones that he would like to otherwise have. Call it 16 because you'd build the 4 anyways. So yeah, economically, Denver is maybe not as developed as he would like to be at 5 minutes in the game, but also Ziggy went for 3 Racks Reaper. And behind this, he's going mech. He's going 3 Racks Reaper into mech.
silly build into another silly build. It's when your first cheese doesn't work, just cheese harder the second time around. And granted, not cheese. This is going to be battle mech, and battle mech's pretty good against the response right now. Because if it's just mostly Lings where Denver's at currently, the Blue Flame Hellions actually will trade really efficiently. So Denver's going to have to get a good scout off on this. He is going to have to make the transition up into lair tech, maybe get down some roaches, ravagers to make this a bit more of a competitive pull. He could easily go into Mutiling Bane. I don't think that's a terrible choice, but it kind of comes down to Ziggy's control then at that point. Can he make the most of his Cyclones? Can he try and get things secured? Is this going to get far enough back? It does not. It does not see that factory. So right now, Denver's still a bit in the blind. All he knows is that there's Reapers out on the field. No understanding of whether this is going to be a bio transition behind the Reapers or if it's going to be mech like we're seeing.
I think with this, you almost have to assume that it will be bio, right? He committed for 3 barracks. Denver knows this, right? He has seen all 3 barracks. He sees the 2 at the front. He saw the third on the high ground, and he saw the tech lab on it. So if I'm Denver here, everything I know is that, okay, he committed, you know, however many minerals on 3 barracks on their add-ons. It's got to be bio. But it's not. Right? It's battle mech. He's getting 3 factory behind this. And I love how Ziggy's playing this game, just looking to mess with his opponent's mind. Much like you'll see a Zerg player do playing against mech, right? That just tech swaps all over the place to force the Zerg player or to force the Terran into a composition that they don't want. In this game, well, Ziggy's now already moving out of the map here. He's got a couple Cyclones. Blue Flame is done, but not too many Hellions just yet, as there are now 6. And Blue Flame is going to show up here. Zerglings, they're going to get us around on top of these Hellions, or on top of these Reapers, excuse me, but not even all the Reapers are going to die.
Oh, that was terrible damage here. Ziggy was almost using those Reapers as bait, and it just went right into those Blue Flame Hellions. So that is a nice positional advantage here for Ziggy. He's going to be able to own map control, and with that, he's just going to clear as much creep as he possibly can. Good use of those scans so far. Ziggy's going to double down. He's going to get mag field accelerator on those units. Oh, the acceleration zone, making those Zerglings a bit more positional, a little bit speedier even than they already are. But can those Banelings connect with anything meaningful? Not quite yet. Those Cyclones are still going to be able to position themselves and get out. He might try and take a queen or 2 for his trouble, and that's not a bad place to get to. A good transfuse keeps that queen alive, but now we're finally going to see that transition into roaches. Did it +1? No, you're still going to get +1 melee. I'm not sure if that's a good commitment or not, but it still will be roaches and Glue Reconstitution being brought in as well. Ziggy, though, has to try and hold down this advantage while he can.
I think this is much more of a sunk cost than anything else. I mean, +1 is just about done, right? Oh, it looks like we got to run by on into the 3rd base, though. I guess Zerglings, they're going to get, okay, they're going to get cleaned up just fine here. Now, the more questionable upgrade, I mean, granted, Denver didn't know when he started it, but getting that Carapace actually doesn't tend to be all that great because, again, mech units, much like your traditional ground-based Protoss army, they overkill. And they're a heavily spell damage based as well if you do see all these Cyclones. Which means that honestly, Carapace doesn't really matter all that much. It takes, you know, 1 damage off of a 20 damage nuke or something. Like, it doesn't really do nearly that much for you as getting, say, both attack upgrades here. Now, Denver, he's just going to lose, what, 5 roaches immediately to those lock-ons. More coming on in. And Ziggy, you know what? As much as we say Denver is favored in this matchup, and I still think he is, regardless of the results of this game, he is starting to really punch his way through Denver. His army supply is equal. He has arguably a better army supply here. He's just got lock-ons on a bunch of eggs. That is actually not going to matter. That's unfortunately a bit of a waste. But now Ziggy, I mean, he's pushing in. He's down a little bit in army supply, but he's just trading and trading and trading, sitting on the edge of this lock-on zone. Every time there's a lock-on, he drops a scan. He kills off, you know, however many Cyclones there are of roaches, of Ravagers, and he continues to expand. Now, he only is on 3 bases behind this. 4th base, only just about 2/3 of the way done. But the second question we're looking at here is, at what point does he transition? What point does he go into more traditional mech, into tanks, into Thors, things like that? It looks like, well, he's doing that right now. Is this 4th base, this 5th base from Denver is going to be delayed as well. And Denver is just kind of stuck on his part of the map. He doesn't have the creep spread. He does not have the tech to really develop himself.
Yeah, losing all of those Zerglings had an immense effect a few minutes ago where he wasn't able to zone Ziggy as he tries to take out that creep. So you're noticing that normally, like, Roach Ravager, especially speed roaches, can trade rather effectively with the Cyclones. but only if you have Lings to reinforce them. They get behind that battle mech, and then suddenly you're not able to really maneuver yourself, and the Terran player just loses a whole bunch. Losing this Roach Warren would be disappointing. That is going to go down. 10 drones as well. Where did those 10 drones come into play? Oh, Banelings are going to go into the third base location. I don't even know where this is all coming from. Banelings made it into the natural. These Banelings are going to try and find these units. The SCVs are on a run for their life, but that was a massive trade of workers there. I'm sorry I missed both of those engagements, and then the one I followed just didn't even transpire. But now we're going to see Ravager Lingbane. This is a better position here for Denver. He's going to be able to get a little more positional. Tank coverage is going to be okay, though. I mean, there's 3 tanks already down. This is going to be a difficult position to try and siege into, and if Ziggy is on top of his micro, he could be okay. But here comes the Banelings. The Banelings are mostly going to get picked off by tanks. Those are not going to find a massive amount of damage here, but is there enough to deal with the Roach Ravager on the right-hand side? Workers are going to have to get pulled off of the line. That's never good. The mech is gone. The workers are dying, and Denver might have enough to be able to squeak this out here. Can he overwhelm the rest of the forces on the top left side?
You want to know something funny here? Ziggy, even as he loses 23 workers, he's still up 6 workers. Now, as long as he keeps his third base up, he's probably okay, because the supply gap has actually shrunk a little bit in terms of the 2 players. But now, while we're going to have the Lings, the Roaches, the Ravagers, they're going to get on top of these last couple tanks that are sitting here defensively. And I think we're just going to see Denver continue to rally on in. Unfortunately, Ziggy did not do the thing he needed to do with that battle mech. The whole goal of the battle mech is much like Blink Stalkers in EVT. It's to keep your army back. It's to chew away at it. So by the time Denver finds its way on the other side of the map, A, you're in position, right? You have all of your tanks there defending the position that they need to be. And B, you've picked off some Roaches, some Ravagers, some things like that. So Biles here, they're going to just try to knock down as much as they can here, knock down more and more SCVs. The Banelings are going to look to morph, and they will not be knocked on down. I love even the addition of creep here on the high ground, making it so the Banelings are even that much more threatening. But now Banelings, they're going to look to roll on in. This, my friends, is a dead base indeed, and dead SCVs as well. Ziggy now, he's effectively, well, he's going to land his third base again briefly, but sitting here only on 51 workers. He's only on 3 bases. Denver, though, he's only on 4, and actually, let's take if he can hold here with a lot of tanks, Banelings are going to look to roll on in, but with these like 7 tanks firing, the entire army of Denver is going down. Denver, he got a little bit too aggressive here. He was too overconfident. He said, yes, I have him broken. No, he doesn't. Not anymore.
Tanks are so good against this army composition, and if you don't have the Lings to get in and draw fire, you're just going to lose all of those supply-intensive units. Yeah, Denver's going to have to respond with a Spire here. Mutas are going to be a really good pickup, especially against an opponent who is doing large amounts of tank play. So Battle Mech will still be on the menu, but not in quite as much of a supply count. Denver's still in a really good position though, but I've seen a lot of ZVTs get lost here from the Zerg's perspective because the Terran player is able to hang on to their worker count. The third base has been resaturated, but getting that 4th base back is going to be really, really important. However, I don't think Denver is going to let that happen here. He is remaxing a lot of his army count. He's got to find a good way to engage on this though. That's a lot of tanks, and even with a killer concave, it's going to be difficult to break. The battle mech goes on the bottom right hand side, and that is going to engage against a large amount of the Roach Ravager, and this is what I was afraid of. Ziggy's going to be able to have a really good hold here. He still has tanks. The Lings are not going to be able to flood on in, and that was such a poor engagement here for Denver.
Oh man, I don't even want to look at the resources lost in that engagement. It's pretty bad. And you know what? Honestly, Denver, in the gas that he said, look, I'm going to get a Spire. This is my play. First of all, there are already Cyclones on the field. Unless you hit an overwhelming number of Mutas, Cyclones actually deal with Mutas rather well. 1 lock-on is 1 dead Muta. And considering the fact that Cyclones are faster than Mutas, right? Cyclones actually deal with them rather well. I think I would have much preferred to see Denver commit to Hive, commit to Vipers. He's thinking about if he has 1 Viper there, right? Even 1-2 Vipers, he's just going to be able to go, and most of those tanks start firing for half of it, and suddenly you're fine. These Mutas here this Muta play from Denver, I feel like it's a little bit too much of an really kind of a Hail Mary here, right? Yes, there is no static defense for Ziggy, and that's a bit of a problem. He does not have any turrets, or at least if he does, he has no turrets on the map. But again, Cyclones are on the map here, and there are only 7 Mutas. Now, of course, Ziggy's on the map with the Cyclones. That means these Mutas, at the first, they are going to get some damage. But the question is, how much counter damage can our Ziggy player make?
Well, Denver's not even going to try and engage this battle mech, at least not right now. He wants to use those mutas as a harassment force. And there, like you said, is not a whole lot here protecting anything in the main base. Everything's going to have to be evacuated to some degree. A little bit of damage going down into the third base location, but the turrets are going to be so late. Not going to be jumped upon just yet. The Cyclones have been brought back and will be able to help for now. I don't think this armory is going to be under assault, but 10 workers have already fallen so far in this transition. I think maybe it was Zerglings or Banelings out here at the fourth base location. I don't think the Mutas got that kind of kill. Oh, but there go more Baneling kills. Denver should be able to overwhelm, at least at this point. Tanks are going to be really good on the defensive front at the third base location, but I don't know that he's going to have enough tanks to be able to spread far enough out. He's got to keep everything really close to home, especially because of these Mutas, and the Mutas have not been dealt with just yet. It's more worker kills. 24 have gone down, and Denver's going to be able to wrestle back that economic advantage alongside his army advantage.
Yeah, look at the income now spiking here for Denver, and I'm like, yeah, you know, Cyclones are very good against Mutas, but only if you're able to catch them here. So Ziggy said he's just doing, or Denver's doing what he needs to do, just looking to tear Ziggy apart. As now that Ziggy's trying to take two bases at the same time, he does not have the army supply for that. Zerglings, Banelings, Roaches, and Ravagers getting on top of that entire base position, and we're gonna see a lot of bios land on them as well, but not enough to knock that down. Meanwhile, still no missile turrets there. What I would love to see is like half of these Cyclones in the main base, half of them defending this base, because they're only like 5 units. It's not like there's a big flock that you got to deal with. But let's see.
This is just kind of a slow little push there. Sorry, I didn't know if my Discord cut out for a moment. All the Banelings are just going to get all the Cyclones. That's over. Yeah, this is Ziggy's not going to be able to recover from that.
Yeah, this is why Battle Mech is interesting, right? When it's active on the map, it feels almost impossible to stop. But if you can find your way onto the other side of the map, suddenly the Hellions, the Cyclones, they can't kite anymore, and everything, it just kind of explodes. Now, we do have, it should be noted here, we do have 3 Infestors on the field. We haven't seen them do anything yet, but we do still have potential fungals for that. The last of the Cyclones are now dead, and now this is when I love the Muta switch, right? We're now on to, what is that, 19 Mutas here. They do have +1. No more upgrades needed necessarily. But Denver, he's taking the map. He's got these Bird Infestor hit squad. I guess this is just to catch the last of the battle mech. As the Mutas, they look to dive on in, sweep all the tech here from the main base, maybe even knock down the third. We're going to have to see what Denver wants, because the world is his oyster here. There's nothing more for him. And there we go. GG Ziggy. He sees, 20 Mutas. That's 19 too many Mutas for me. I'm out.
Yeah, it's a lot of damage. So Denver, he kind of got a little tricky there for a moment. Not quite sure if there was a moment that Ziggy could have capitalized on when Denver threw his large Roach Ravager army at those tanks, but Ziggy not capitalizing on it, getting across the map and finding more damage was enough for Denver to get that Muta switch taken care of. And once the Mutas were in the air, there just wasn't enough. At that point, you really need some bio, or you need something that's more dedicated that's going to be able to deal with the Mutas. Instead, Ziggy's going to go down 0-1, and Denver puts himself as what should maybe have been expected, Denver winning that game, but I think it was a little bit more difficult for him than we otherwise would have guessed.
Yeah, certainly a lot closer. Ziggy doing a really good job of messing around with the techs, right? He went 3 Rax Reaper into mech play, and 2 Rax Reaper, 1 Rax Reaper, okay, fine. But when you commit those 450 minerals for 3 barracks, suddenly there's no way they're going mech. Well, they were. Ziggy did go for mech. And that was, by itself, that was a fantastic advantage he found for himself, because Denver was setting himself up for bioplay. He was setting himself up. He had Lings, Banes, all that fun stuff, and suddenly, well, it's Blue Flame Hellions against all your Zerglings. They're all dead. Ziggy found some advantages, but unfortunately, he could not close. He could not find quite the final push, right? He held, he was fine. He evaporated armies and armies and armies broke against him, but eventually Denver found that tech that he was looking for. Eventually, he found the right advantage, the right combination of units. And Ziggy, he just got burnt down a little bit too much. Not enough economy. Ziggy,
yeah, and you have to be careful as the Terran player. Anytime you invest in that many tanks, you got to have something to take care of the Spire switch because those mutas were deadly and there just wasn't a good response. So map number 2 is going to be on 2,000 atmospheres. We'll have to see if Ziggy can mitigate some of that mid-game damage a little bit better and maybe capitalize on some of the good plays. He's surely bringing it. Now he just has to make it work here in game number 2.
And of course, spawning in the upper right. The blue is down 1-0 in this series, but he's got some damn cool builds. The teamless Terran player, Ziggy.
And spawning in the bottom left, it's our red Zerg player. This is Denver.
Well, we see Ziggy, he's going for the same build once again. At the very least, he is showing the same build once again. Whether he opts to do every sort of follow-up the same way, whether this is 3 Rax Reaper, whether we see any other shenanigans, well, that's a different story. But certainly, he is showing the world that he believes that this is the way you play TVC against a player like Denver at the very least.
Yeah. I know it's a bit of a meme to say that. I get that. I think Ziggy could play more macro oriented if he wanted to, but it's not a bad play by any stretch of the imagination. We'll have to see if that third barracks ends up going down here. I think the SCV is going to rally up here. Yeah,
yep,
get that set up into place. He does believe in it, though, and he got a lot of good damage done with it in game number 1. Obviously, he wasn't able to capitalize on the entirety of it, but 2,000 atmospheres might be a better map for him to go into the setup that he wants to do, especially since Denver is deviating. In game number 1, Denver went for pool first, and now this time it's going to be hatch first. He might be able to capitalize on the lack of Zerglings early on here. I don't think that will last very long, but who knows? Could be a good thing.
Actually, I think this is, well, it's not necessarily the lack of Zerglings that are going to be the problem for Denver this game. It's the lack of speed. Of course, speed will be done at 330. This just gives Ziggy another 30 seconds, another 45 seconds, where he can look to find some damage with these Reapers before he's going to be forced on back. Before, well, the Speedlings look to chase him down like they did in game number 1. But still, the other interesting thing, I think we need to talk about this a little bit more before we really get into game 2, is just how close that previous game was. If Denver did not kill 40 SCVs and a base in that one all-in that he did, right? I think Ziggy wins that game because Ziggy, he lost like 30 SCVs and still ended up ahead on workers, still up ahead on economy. If he loses any less than that, he's totally fine in that game. He probably is able to make it work. So we're gonna have to see whether he's gonna be a little bit more, do a little bit better job of defending, making sure he's active on the map. And actually, is he gonna get a queen? No, the Zerglings are gonna posture just well enough here. But these 3 Reapers, they're gonna look to dive on in. And I mean, there is no queen energy for a transfuse right now with 4 Reapers here. Denver has to be very careful so this doesn't snowball.
Oh, yeah. I mean, this is delicately close. Losing a Reaper, though, is unacceptable against Slowlings. Oh, but he gets it back with both of those queens. So both queens going down. That was a nice little trade here for Ziggy. He might be able to keep this pressure going because that's going to be less larva. That's less injects. That's less everything at this point. But now speed is going to be done. Can Ziggy mitigate this damage sort of the way he did, maybe better in game number 1? He gets some really good stutter step micro. These Reapers are still alive, only losing 1 so far. And he's taken out a fair number of links here at this point, but I think the overwhelming number is going to be able to finally get him here.
Yeah, but the question here is, as these Reapers, they try to die and they don't die. As I turn on filter keys, what was lost here? 1 worker died, 2 queens died, 10 drones worth of Zerglings died as well for 4 Reapers. Right? That is a massive advantage there for Ziggy's. The Zerglings, they're going to keep searching around Ziggy because he owns the Zelnaga tower on this map. He's not going to get caught out like he did last time. Zerglings show up, he's going to be able to just run on home. He's absolutely in a better position in this game. The question, though, is A, how many gases is he going to get on his natural? It looks like the answer is 2 to that. 1 is already underway. And B, how many factories is it going to be? Does he go into mech once again? My gut says yes, especially considering he's in an even better position against Denver than he was in game number 1. The question also, has Denver realized that this is how Ziggy wants to play? Okay, well, never mind.
Ah! Yeah, this is a rough engagement. Oh, you lose your whole advantage. Oh, he loses every single Reaper except for 2. It's not It's not a good way to capitalize on that because now Denver just has an advantage. He's going to be able to own the map. And yeah, the other two Reapers are just meh. Just gone. At this point, they might as well be. But look at this. It's going to be a different pivot here. We are going to see some bio come out here, at least in the onset. There are additional factories underway, so he's leaving the option open to do either. I think these Marines are just going to be to try and hold this back and metagame his opponent. He is getting stim. There's really no scout coming in, so maybe Ziggy cancels that. He's worried about the Overlord coming in to scout this out. But I don't know why you would invest into the double factory here if you weren't intending to at least have a decent amount of Hellions out on the map. So Tank's going to get brought in as well. But I personally think Bio's a better choice here, and the Raptors are going to go down. This is a little bit harder to sell. So Ziggy is going to try and get into some Bio here. I think this is a good call.
Yeah, this might just be for, I mean, we do occasionally see like double tank or, you know, some sort of like double Widowmine production, something like that. I feel also it's interesting here. It's very telling. Denver, look at where his tech is, right? We don't see an eBay's going down just yet. He's just got a Baneling Nest underway. He has not had a good solid scout of what Ziggy's going for in the main base. He doesn't know what Ziggy's tech is. And because of that, and because of what happened to him in game, he still won that game, but because of what happened to him in game number 1, he's being a little bit reticent about committing to a certain tech. Now, most likely he's just going to go into mutas behind this, right? Because again, the quick layer, the no upgrades, that is the story that one tells. But mutas to start are a rather strong option against A, bio play, B against mech play. So he's really just trying to split the difference here. But look at, oh, Hellbats. Okay, yeah, you're right. This is just going to be a bunch of Hellions with a double factory. It's just going to be a Hellbat Marine army, which is something that we've seen players mess around with. It's something that we saw Beyond an Innovation Star play around with at the start of this year, end of last year. But it feels like always a little bit underwhelming because yes, you can heal the mech units with your medevacs, but also they're slow. They don't split well. They die to banelings really easily. It just kind of feels much more underwhelming than Widowmines and tanks do. We're gonna have to see whether it works out for Ziggy in this game.
I think this offers a lot of good options for Ziggy at this point, because now he's going to be able to defend against a large Ling army. Banelings a little bit less so with those Hellions and the Hellbats. But if all of a sudden this turns into Mutiling Bane, he can easily just switch that into Widowmine production. If it turns into something different that he's not comfortable with, he can easily lift these, throw down some tech labs and take care of the transition and go into Thors and goes into tanks. So I think this is just a nice little catch-all that he's going into, and he's going to be able to put down a lot of damage right now. Here come those Hellbats to try and deal some damage. There is no Baneling speed just yet, but it is almost on the way. Combat Shield is just about finished up as well, so both of these armies are about to get a lot stronger, a lot faster. Queens have a really good spread so far, so this is working out really, really well. The Banelings are going to try and roll on in, but they don't trade very well. They do take out a large majority of the Hellbats. Is that enough to really push on forward? There's only one tank. I think this is going to end up being okay for Denver, but this could have gone a lot better. Tanks are going to work out on the Queens. This is a kind of delicate situation here. Ziggy might actually push on through.
I was gonna say, you say that there are only 7 Banelings on the field right now. A second tank is gonna rally on in. We're gonna get a hot pickup, and you of course don't want to waste Banelings on a tanks there. So yeah, it looks like Ziggy's push is just slowly starting to stall on out, and there we go. Supplies have been equalized. But also take a look at this, right? Look at resources lost. Ziggy is 2,000 resources ahead. He's pretty happy there. But 1-1 for Denver is now done. There is no eBays. There are no eBays for Ziggy in this game, as he is producing, by the way, he has 3 factories, 3 barracks.
Balanced, as all things should be.
It's Biomech. Yeah, Liberators are on the way, so he does add a couple additional barracks here, but I feel like Ziggy had this really powerful push, but now his lack of upgrades are really going to seriously hurt him. That, and of course, the Zerglings running on into the natural are going to start to find some damage. Ziggy, he already was kind of all in, right? He was not, no gas on his third base. Wait. Yeah, okay, there. I was like, why is he 31 out of 16 on his third base? But that was just the pull in from the natural. Meanwhile, of course, Denver also trying to take this fight. Well, Ziggy is distracted. He will be successful there. Ziggy is forced to pick up, forced to go home. And the Zerglings with 1-1 versus the 0-0 of the bio. They're not dead. They're still there.
Okay, we are going to get additional barracks on the rebound here, and it is going to be Liberators in production as well. So kind of an interesting choice. To be fair, though, Ziggy's keeping Denver on a respectable account right now. He's not going into roaches. I know that's something that Denver typically plays a lot of. He loves his roach production, and he's staying largely on Ling Bane. So the army composition that Ziggy has right now will trade rather effectively with it, but he has to find a way to mitigate damage from these run bys here. That is a completely open base. Look, run, SCVs. 15 are going to end up going down, probably more as well. Here come the reinforcements, but there's still Banelings. Finally, 15 do end up going down, but whew, that's a lot of investment there for Ziggy, and Denver's able to catapult as a result.
That he is, and this is not a game like last one where Ziggy's like, yeah, I can lose 30 workers. I'm fine. I was at 100. I probably should have lost those anyways. Maybe I overbuilt workers a little bit. This is a game where Ziggy does not have the financial backing that he otherwise had, that he had in game number 1. We have no angel investors here. No one that believes in his story. No one that believes in his plan of biomech, of insane hellbat biocompositions. No one is funding this one. It's now the Baneleys. They're going to go explode, and it's just going to be friendly fire from Denver. Using things, and yes, eventually Liberators will clean that one up, but not before 13 more SCVs go down. Ziggy now on 38 SCVs. He does not have any upgrades. There are still no E-bays, as he is all in on these 3 bases, but the power of this all in, it is waning by the day.
Hydroling Bane is a nice follow-up here for Denver as well. He's already got really good confident map control with this Ling Bane, and the Hydras are going to be so effective against zoning out the Medivacs, zoning out the Hellbats, zoning out the Liberators. It's not many times that you see Hydroling Bane in this current meta and you're like, oh yeah, that's a really great confident choice, but I feel like for Denver, he's in a position where he can make that work. More worker kills, just the fact that there's no tanks and mines sitting at this 3rd base location is such a missed opportunity for Ziggy. He's lost way too much as a result of this. So 12 more workers are going to end up going down. Ziggy's on 38 supply of SCVs, and Banelings are just going to come charging across the map. The Hydras are going to come charging. They're not even that fast yet, but they're going to have range, and they should be able to capitalize on this. This could be a good moment though for Ziggy to get on top of this army, but I think it's going to be a wraparound of big proportions.
Yeah, and here's the thing on top of that. These are Hydras with +2 carapace. You're just not killing them with Marines. Marines are just tickling everything here. The lack of upgrades is a problem. Denver is the solution. GG Denver. He's going to 2-0 Ziggy. He's going to, well, he's going to find himself